Boker Tov and Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to the Light to the Nations channel. In the video today, we will continue with the study of the calendar. And in this part, the part 1C, we will talk about some basics, understanding basic information about YaHuWaH's calendar. In all the previous videos, we have been talking about the foundations, the different calendar systems that we have seen throughout the history and even in our days. Also, we talk about how the Jewish calendar based on the moon is not supported in any ways from the scriptures. And so it's quite important now that we have all this foundation that none of the calendar that the world and the system is following has something or anything to do with the calendar of YaHuWaH in the Devar, in his word. We need to understand what are the basics and how to start learning about the calendar of YaHuWaH. There's some specific things that are very important to understand that it will help us to understand the complete revelation of the clock in the Shamayim and also how the calendar of YaHuWaH works. I have been telling you in the other videos that I'm still studying about this calendar. I don't have all the answers, but I know I'm quite sure that YaHuWaH is guiding us and giving us his light in order to completely understand his calendar. So we need to keep praying to him in order to give us the entire understanding to know his calendar in all details. So like always, if you have any question, you can send me an email. Let me change this a little bit to light2everynation@gmail.com. So if after the video you have more questions, just send me an email. I will do my best in order to help you with the answers. If I don't have the answer, I will tell you and we will pray together to YaHuWaH to receive the understanding. So let's move on. Let me share the screen with you and we will start right away with this part. So here we are. So let me share the proper screen. So here is this is set part number 3 because I created in another order, and I have been delivering the information in the way that I'm receiving it, but in the presentation I tried to put the correct order. Okay, so don't get confused with the part number 3. This is somehow the proper order that I have been preparing the material. So we are going to talk today about the basics, as I said, about the calendar. And I want to start with an important question. And the question that I want to share with you is this one. Why we need a calendar? And when I started my journey in my studies about the calendar, I told you this was around 6 months ago, maybe a little more. One of the first questions that I had at the beginning was why we need this calendar, why we need a calendar in our life. For us, it's quite normal to use a calendar because in our day-to-day activities, we used to have a calendar. It's impossible to coordinate anything at work, at home, at any other activities that we have in our current life without a calendar. There's a lot of celebrations that people like to have, celebrating birthdays, celebrating a lot of things regarding Independence Days and things like that, that the only way that they are able to do it is following a calendar. So if we have a meeting at work and we want to coordinate this meeting, we need a calendar in order to know when we're going to do it. And this calendar is based in hours, it's based in time, basically it's based in days, it's based in years. So for us, it's normal, and when we used to have normal things in the day-to-day, things that we're using so often in our day-to-day activities, we don't stop to think why we need something, why we need it. So Again, we need to be like children, we need to be like little kids, and that's why I'm bringing this question, the same question that I have, I'm bringing it to you. And I want you to think about it, why we need a calendar. And the way that I started to think about this, and it wasn't only my thinking, I started to make this question to even to my daughter, to some friends, in order to receive some feedbacks. And something amazing happened, because during these conversations, this question that I was making to some people, um, we got to the same answer. After digging and digging on the question, we got to exactly the same answer, and it wasn't simultaneously, because I was asking and talking to the people in a different moment at the time. So the way that we got to this basic answer, to the fundamental answer, it was by thinking why the old man, the first man that walked on the earth, needed a calendar. So I want you to think in Adam and Hawa, Adam and Eve, why they needed a calendar. They were the first people, the first couple, the first man and woman on the earth. Why would they need a calendar? They didn't have any need in order to coordinate meetings. They didn't have any need to, I don't know, to have some kind of any kind of appointment. So why did they need a calendar? So if you think a little bit more on this, and you start thinking on this, and actually that this was one of the answers from my daughter. It was, she said, because we need to know when to move from home, she said, because people at that time, they had the need in order to understand the seasons, because during winter they needed to move from the summer house to the winter house in the cave, maybe, I don't know. And when winter has passed, they needed to move to the summer house, or to the outdoors. And that was quite amazing, because in another discussion with my brother-in-law, he told me about the birds, how the migration of birds from one place to another is so connected to the seasons. You know, so thinking from that point of view, what's the answer? The first answer for the calendar. Why we need a calendar? We need a calendar in order to understand the seasons, because knowing when the seasons are coming, we will know when to migrate from one place to the other. We will know when to cover ourselves from the rain, when to cover ourselves or protect ourselves from the cold. And the same thing is applicable for the other seasons like summer and so on. So this is quite amazing, because it's so simple for us, because we know, even using the Gregorian calendar nowadays, that we know when the equinox is coming, when the solstice is coming, when the seasons are coming. So we are using the calendar even on the fundamental aspects that we are discussing now. So for Adam and Hawa, or Eve, this was one of the reasons of why they needed a calendar. But there is another one. And I'm starting like this to inviting you to think about this, because we will see how this is perfectly connected to the word of YaHuWaH. So the second reason that we got as a conclusion after the discussing or checking or investigating about the answer for this question, why we need a calendar, is because of food. We are so used to having our modern era, our modern life, that every time that we need something to eat, we just go to the grocery store, to the supermarket, and we buy anything we need. But this is so artificial. This is so out of reality of nature, that even that blind us to see the truth of how YaHuWaH created this world. So in the past, even not that many years ago or so many centuries ago, the situation was totally different, because now with the capitalism and the current way of life, everything is so normal. We can have, even in our house, things that have been grown in the other end of the world, and this is again totally unnatural. But in the past was totally different. All people depend on growing food on the earth. And in order to know when the food is growing, we need to understand the seasons, when we need to sow and when we need to harvest. And actually, this is something that we are not doing in our modern life. And in my humble opinion, this is totally wrong. And I'm trying to make that change as well. Because people in the past prepared themselves for the winter. They prepared the food, they started to store food for the winter, because that was the only way to do it, because during winter they didn't have food. So now in our modern days, we don't do that, because we have food all the time in the supermarket, in the grocery store. So even during winter, we can buy things that we have only during summer, because those companies, those supermarkets are bringing food from another place on the earth. So this is somehow pushing us not to flow according to the rhythm of the nature, to the rhythm of the creation, to the rhythm that YaHuWaH Elohim created for us. So coming back again about the calendar, why we need the calendar is because of food, because knowing the calendar, we will know the seasons. Knowing the seasons and the calendar, we will know when to sow the seed. And knowing the calendars and the season, we will know when is the time for the harvest, for the different products that YaHuWaH Elohim Sebaot is giving us through His earth. And also coming back to the first conclusion, that we need to understand and know the calendar because of the seasons and how to protect ourselves. If we connect this with the food as well, we will know when winter is coming. So we will prepare the food and we will store the food in order to have all the goods that we need during the winter. So I think, and based on what I understood and based on what I found, these two are the main reasons of why we need a calendar. It's because of the seasons, how to protect ourselves from the seasons, how to migrate during the seasons, and because of the food. And I think the food is one of the most important aspects. So we will see how this is in complete harmony on the Devar of YaHuWaH. So let's start reviewing some of the texts. So the first one that I want to share with you is in Bereshit. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 7 to 10, and the verse 15 as well. So this is the Sefer Bereshit. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 7 to 10 and 15. And it says the following: And YaHuWaH Elohim formed the man out of the dust from the ground, and breathed into his nostrils breath of life, and the man became a living being. So we see this is basically the account of the creation of Adam. Okay, let's continue in the verse 8. And this is important, that's why it's in red. And YaHuWaH Elohim planted a garden in Eden, or Eden. So we see that after the creation of Adam, YaHuWaH created a special place, and this place was the Garden of Eden. So why YaHuWaH created this special place? We will see how is the relationship between Adam and the Garden of Eden. We need to keep this in mind. It was a special place that YaHuWaH Elohim created. And let's continue. He planted the Garden of Eden to the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And this is quite important. You know, when I noticed this, it was so amazing to see it, because so many years ago, when I tend to believe, and maybe some of you also, it's also happened the same, is that Adam was created in the Garden of Eden. That's I think the common understanding from everybody, that Adam was created in the Garden of Eden. But if we carefully read what is written here in Genesis, in Bereshit, we see clearly that this is not the truth. Adam was created outside the Garden of Eden, and YaHuWaH Elohim took Adam and put him on the garden that he had created. Let's read it again, the verse 8. And YaHuWaH Elohim planted a garden of Eden to the east, and there he put the man. So Adam was created first, he planted the garden, YaHuWaH took the man and put him on the garden, whom he had formed. Important, because, and keep this in mind, because we need to understand why YaHuWaH put Adam in his special place in the Garden of Eden. He gave him a special task, and we will see it right away. Let's continue in the verse 9. And out of the ground YaHuWaH Elohim made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. Again, we see how this is the connection with the food and the fruits of the trees. With the tree of life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And let's listen this carefully in the verse 10. And a river went out of Eden. What was the purpose of the river? To water the garden. So it's quite important. This is a special place, the Garden of Eden, where YaHuWaH Elohim put Adam. Also, YaHuWaH created a river. And what was the purpose of the river to the garden? To water the garden. So please start thinking why we need to water the gardens. What's the purpose to water a garden? And think on the answers we discussed previously about the answer of why we need a calendar. Okay, let's continue. And from there it divided and became 4 heads. So if we skip to the verse 15, this is an important information, and we will see here why YaHuWaH put Adam on the Garden of Eden. And it says the following. And YaHuWaH Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden. For what purpose? To work it and to guard it. So you see, Adam had the responsibility to work the garden and to guard the garden. So if he needed to till the garden, because it's a garden where fruits and food are coming, as we saw it in the first in the previous verses, he needed to know the calendar, because understanding the calendar, the seasons that YaHuWaH created, that was the only way that he was able to fulfill and to perform his task. Amazing, no? So we see here the connection between the calendar and the responsibility of Adam to guard and work the garden in order for the food and connected to the seasons. But let's continue. I'm gonna put everything here. So let's continue with Bereshit. This is Genesis chapter 8. And before that, let me read something first. This is in Bereshit, and before going to Noah, let me find it because I didn't include this. This is in Bereshit. I think it's in chapter 3. Bereshit chapter 3. This is basically the fall in the Garden of Eden. And I'm looking this for you. Yes, it's in Bereshit chapter 3, verse 23. Bereshit, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 23. It says the following. So YaHuWaH Elohim sent him out of the Garden of Eden. This is the punishment of Adam for Adam and Eve because of disobedience. So it says that YaHuWaH took Adam out and Hawa out of the Garden of Eden. But let's continue. To till the ground from which he was taken. So let me read again. So YaHuWaH Elohim sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. So you see, somehow we see the connection of the responsibility, the task, the work that Adam was doing in the Garden of Eden. And after the fall, after the punishment because of disobedience, YaHuWaH took him out of the Garden of Eden to do what? To till the ground. So how Adam was supposed to till the ground without a calendar, without knowing the seasons? And we also have the story of Cain and Abel, Cain and Abel, how Cain was the tilling the ground. He was responsible of that. So we see during the account of Bereshit how is the connection of working the ground in order to produce food, and how, in order to do this, how is so much needed to have a calendar. So let's continue with the next verses. So in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 8, 20 and 21, we see the story of Noah after the flood. Okay, so let's read it, because here we have an additional key and additional information from YaHuWaH, and it says the following. And Noah built an slaughtered place to YaHuWaH, and took of every clean beast and every clean bird, and offered ascending offerings on the slaughtered place. And YaHuWaH smelled a soothing fragrance. And YaHuWaH said in his heart, Never again shall I curse the ground because of man, although the inclination of man's heart is evil from his youth, and never again strike all living creatures as I have done. And listen to this in the verse 22, because this is a promise, it's an eternal promise, a covenant. It's part of the covenant between YaHuWaH and Noah. It says the following: As long as the earth remains, and we know that the earth has not changed. We know that it's part of the prophecy that a new creation will come, a new earth and a new Shemayim, but this has not yet happened. So this is also applicable for today. As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest. We see YaHuWaH is promising us that He will keep. These things are not ceased, the seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. So He's part of His promise that none of this will cease. So we will have seed time and harvest. So in order to know when is the seed time and the harvest, we need to have a calendar. And cold and heat. So having a calendar is going to be much easier to understand when is the season of cold and the season of heat. When is summer and winter, again, how is this connected amazingly with the calendar? And day and night, and we know that day and night is also connected to the times, is connected to the calendar. So we see the importance of these seasons of the food and the seed time and the harvest, and the summer and the winter, connected to the word of YaHuWaH and connected to the calendar. And we see in Mishle, in Proverbs chapter 20, verse 4, this is an important thing because it's also connected to harvesting, to tilling the ground. It says the following: The lazy one does not plow after the autumn. So we see a connection between working the ground and the seasons, and how not doing it, we become a lazy person. And let's continue. At harvest time, he inquires, there is none, for sure, because YaHuWaH is telling us that He's providing us food through the earth, through the ground. And it's part of our responsibility to know when to do all of this, when to seed, when to harvest. And we see throughout the entire scripture how it is connected to the seasons, and the seasons are connected to the calendar. And we see also an amazing thing. This is in the book of Shir Hashirim. This is Song of Songs, chapter 2, verse 11 to 13, we see a beautiful account, a beautiful explanation of how the earth and everything surrounding us is changing throughout the seasons. And we read the following in the verse 11. For look, the winter is past. Again, we need to understand when the winter is will pass. The rain is over, gone. The flowers have appeared in the earth. The time of singing has come, and the voice of the turtle dove has been heard in our land. The fig tree has ripened her figs, and the vines with the tender grapes have given a good fragrance. So we see how everything on the earth is changing. Everything on the earth, in the ground, in the nature is changing and is connected in harmony with the seasons. This is the law, the natural law of the creation. This is the rhythm of the creation, the rhythm and the law that YaHuWaH appointed for his creation. And we, men and women, need, as part of his creation, we need to flow on those rhythms. We need to flow according to the laws of the creation. And in order to flow with the rhythm of the creation, we need to understand the calendar of YaHuWaH, because the creation is following and is flowing according to the calendar of YaHuWaH. So basically, just as a summary, why we need a calendar? We need a calendar basically in order to understand the seasons, when the seasons are coming, in order for the migrations, in order to understand when to seed, when to harvest the fruits, when to till the ground. Basically, we need the calendar to administer his earth. This was the role of Adam in the Garden of Eden. That was the reason that YaHuWaH created man, in order to supervise, to manage, to administer his creation. And that's why we need to know how to do it. And YaHuWaH created an amazing calendar, an amazing clock in the Shamayim that we will know, and we will study this in order to know how to perform our duty, how to perform our responsibility. Okay, so let's continue. So let's talk about the clock in the Shamayim. And this is something that I was sharing in another study, so we will take a look on details as part of the calendar study. And the clock on the Shamayim, this is quite amazing, because we will see it here, and I will tell you an analogy at the end that is quite nice. And the clock of the Shamayim is basically the thought. He created signs on the heaven, in the sky, in order for us to see it. And seeing those signs on the heavens, on the Shamayim, we will know how to understand and how to calculate the calendar of YaHuWaH, and how to work on the calendar of YaHuWaH. So let's take a look, because this is quite amazing. It's in the beginning, in Bereshit. Everything is over there. So this is in the book, the Sefer Bereshit. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 14 to 18. And it says the following. And Elohim said, let lights come to be in the expanse of the Shamayim, to separate the day from the night, and let them be for otot, signs, and moedim, appointed times, and for yomim, days, and shanaim, years. So we see here clearly that YaHuWaH, in the day 4, we will see later, is creating luminaries. He's creating lights on the Shamayim. And what's the purpose of the luminaries? And he's saying clearly here in the same text, he's creating these luminaries in order for what? To be signs, to be otot, in order to be used for moedims, appointed times, and also in order to understand days and years, Yomim and Shanaim. That's the entire purpose of the luminaries that he created on the Shamayim. Let's continue in the verse 15. And let them be for lights in the expanse of the Shamayim, to give light on the earth. This is the second purpose, to give light on the earth. And it came to be so. And Elohim made 2 great lights. So we see here that he intended to create this light, and he created the lights, and he created 2 sets of lights, the greater light and the lesser light. So let's continue. So Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day. So one light in order to rule the day. This is important to understand. And the lesser light to rule the night and the stars. So we see the two set of lights, the greater and the lesser, and we see what's the purpose for in which time they're going to rule. One is going to rule the day and the other is going to rule the night. And if you have not watched yet, go and watch the study that I titled What is a Day, part 1, 2, and 3, because I talk more in details about this, about the purpose of the greater light ruling the day and the purpose of the lesser light ruling the night, and how understanding this passage and the purpose of the greater and the lesser light, we can understand what is a day and what is a night. Okay, so if you have not done it yet, I invite you to watch that video. It's important information as well. So let's continue in the verse 17. And Elohim set them in the expanse of the Shamayim to give light on the earth, and to rule over the Yom, the day, and over the Laila, the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. So basically, what YaHuWaH Elohim Sebaot made, as we have read, he created basically the greater light and the lesser light. And yes, I'm going to show you this passage as well, because here we don't know which one is the greater light and which one is the lesser light. And we can assume, based on the understanding and what we have been learning from during our lifetime, that the greater light is the day, the sun, and the lesser light is the moon. But you know, I have been telling you that we need to put our trust in YaHuWaH. We don't have to trust in our own thoughts or in other people. We need to trust just in YaHuWaH and His word. And in His Devar, the word of YaHuWaH, He is giving us the answer. And this is in Tehillim, the book of Psalms, chapter 136, verse 7 and 9. And it says the following: To Him who made great lights, for His loving commitment is everlasting, the sun to rule by day, by Yom day, for His loving commitment is everlasting. And we see the amazing connection here. The sun to rule by day. And we see in Bereshit, He said that the greater light to rule the day. So it's the same Devar of YaHuWaH that is providing us the answer. The sun is the greater light. So let's continue. The moon and the stars to rule by Laila, night, for His loving commitment is everlasting. And we see the amazing connection and the answer directly from the Devar of YaHuWaH. The lesser light to rule the night, it says in Genesis. And we see here that the moon and the stars are ruling the night. So we see here's the visual representation of the Yom, the day, and the night. And we see that YaHuWaH created this Otot in the Shamayim, the sun to rule the day, and the moon and the stars to rule the night. And these are the Otots, these are the signs that He created, He appointed, as is written in the verse 14, for the mornings, for days, and for years. These are the signs that we need to use in order to calculate the calendar of YaHuWaH that is based on days and years and appointed times. And the amazing analogy that I was telling you before is that, you know, we used to have a clock that we use in our modern life. And this clock has three hands. It has the hour hand, has the minute hand, and the second hand. So it's having three hands. And the amazing things and the amazing analogy that we see in the clock that YaHuWaH created and put in the Shamayim, we see something quite similar. We have three hands. We have the greater light, the sun, we have the moon, and we have the stars. So it's quite amazing, because somehow, even using our modern life, we see that we calculate the time using three variables. YaHuWaH also created in the Shamayim three variables, three signs that we need to understand how they work together in order to calculate the proper time, in order to flow at the rhythm of YaHuWaH Elohim, at the rhythm that He appointed for the creation. So keep that in mind, because this is the basic for the calendar of YaHuWaH that we will continue studying in the other parts of this series. So what we need to know from the calendar of YaHuWaH, that when he created everything, and this is quite important. So we will read again the account in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1, in the verse 14, 16, 17, and 19. So it says the following: And Elohim said, Let lights come to be in the expanse of the Shamayim, to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times, and for days and for years. So we see here the connection that he created the thoughts, as we said previously, for days and years. In the verse 16, we see, And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And Elohim set them in the expanse of the Shemayim to give light on the earth. But listen to this in the verse 19. It says the following: And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the fourth day. Why is this so important? Because we see that this is the creation week, okay? The 7 days of the Shavua, the 7 days of the week. And we know that if we read the entire chapter 1 and chapter 2, that YaHuWaH created everything in 6 days, okay? He made different things on the different days, and he created everything during the day, okay? And he appointed a special day, the Shabbat day. He made it Kodesh from the beginning, because in this day he rested from all the creation he made, and he enjoyed the creation he made. So we see in this account that also he created the light on the day 1, but what's the important here and the connection with the calendar, that he created the luminaries, he created the clock on the Shemayim, the clock that we already reviewed in the previous slide, he created in the 4th day. In the 4th day, Elohim created the sun, the moon, and the stars. So we know that the luminaries on the Shemayim has revolution. We see this in the nature. We just need to look in how the luminaries are moving in the Shemayim to understand that they have revolutions. So the important here is that Elohim created the luminaries in the day 4. So the revolution, the first revolution of the luminaries, started on the day 4 of the week, the day 4 of the Shavua. So by understanding this, we understand that the first Shana, the first year of the creation, started on the 4th day of the Shavua. This is quite important because we will see it later in the next slide, how is this connected. All of this is connected with the calendar. So we need to remind ourselves, he created the luminaries in the 4th Yom, the 4th day of the Shavua, the week. And the revolutions of all the luminaries on the clock in the Shemayim started on the 4th day of the week, meaning that the first year of the creation, the first year ever, started on the 4th day of the week. And I'm including this in the presentation because, if you read the book of Hanoch, this is the book of Enoch, and also read the testimony of the Dead Sea Scroll. In these two sources, we see that the year is always starting on the 4th day of the Shavua, and the 4th day of the week. And this is so amazing because it's in complete harmony with the account of the creation, that the revolution started in the 4th day of the Shavua. So when the revolution is completed, it's going to be completed in the day 3. And in the day 4, a new revolution will start. That's why we need to understand how the clock works, the clock in the Shemayim work, and the calendar of YaHuWaH work. And we see and we have these important testimonies on the book of Hanoch and the Dead Sea Scrolls that the day is going to start always in the 4th day of the Shavua. So how we can confirm this directly from the Devar, the word of YaHuWaH? And for this, we have this part that it was an amazing understanding, an amazing revelation that YaHuWaH gave us, that the luminaries will not change their laws during eternity. So if the luminaries are not changing the laws, we need to understand that the same laws that were appointed to the luminaries during the creation at the beginning are the same laws that are working and are applicable and are appointed for the luminaries today. So how we can confirm this from the Devar of YaHuWaH? And the first one, we have it here in the book of Tehillim, the book of Psalms, chapter 148, verse 1 to 6, and it says the following: Praise Yah, praise YaHuWaH from the Shemaim, praise Him in the heights, praise Him all His messengers, praise Him all His hosts, praise Him sun and moon, praise Him all you stars of light, praise Him Shemaim of Shemaim, and you waters above the Shemaim. Let them praise the name of YaHuWaH, for He commanded and they were created. We see and we saw this on the account of Bereshit. And let's listen carefully to this in the verse 6. And He established them forever. So YaHuWaH established the luminaries, the clock in the Shemaim, forever and ever. And check this. Check what is written in red. He gave a law, and they passed not beyond. So YaHuWaH created at the beginning the luminaries and appointed for them a law. And the Devar of YaHuWaH is the same YaHuWaH through David. He's telling us that the luminaries will not transgress this law. And these laws, at the same way that the luminaries were created, are established forever and ever. So this is the first witness we have in the Devar of YaHuWaH. Let's look for the second witness. And this is in the book of Yirmiyahu, Sefer Yirmiyahu, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 33, in the verse 20, 21, 26, and 26, 25 and 26. And it says, Thus said YaHuWaH, if you could break my covenant with the day and my covenant with the night. He's comparing something here with the covenant of the day and the night, so that there be no day and night in their season. Then my covenant could also be broken with David my servant, so that he should not have a son to reign upon his throne, and with the Levites, the priests, my attendants. So we see here that YaHuWaH is saying that if he's able to break, or somebody is able to break the covenant he has with the day and the night, it's also going to be possible to break the covenant with David and with the Levites and with the priests. And we know that the covenant with David is not going to be broken, because through this covenant we have Yahushua, Mashiach, our Melech, the one that is going to sit on the throne of YaHuWaH, actually sitting in the throne of YaHuWaH, and the one that is going to reign on the earth on His second coming. So this covenant is not broken. So it means that the covenant that YaHuWaH has with the day and the night is not broken either. So it's the same covenant that He made at the beginning of the creation, is the same covenant that He is keeping nowadays, and this is in complete harmony with what we saw in the book of Tehillim, that He established the laws of the luminaries, and the luminaries are not transgressing those laws. Let's continue in the verse 25. Thus said YaHuWaH, if my covenant is not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the laws of the heaven and earth, then I could also reject the descendant of Yaakov and David my servant, so that I should not take of his descendant to be rulers over the descendants of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. For I shall turn back their captivity and have not compassion of them. So we see here the connection between the covenant of with the day and the night, the covenant of YaHuWaH with the day and the night, and we see the connection here with the laws appointed for the heaven, the Shemaim, and the earth. And we know that the luminaries were established on the Shemaim. So when he's talking about here, about the laws appointed to the Shemaim, is also including the luminaries. And we see exactly the same comparison. If he's breaking the covenant and the laws with the day and the night, and the laws of the Shemaim and the earth, he's also going to reject the descendant of Yaakov and David, his servant. And we know that here, the descendants of Yaakov and David, we have Yahushua HaMashiach, and we are also part of that, because we are part of Israel. We are the descendant of Abraham through Yahushua. And we know we have this amazing hope and this amazing promise from YaHuWaH that He will take us now in the last days. So He has not broken the covenant with David and the descendant of Yaakov. He has not rejected the descendant of Yaakov, because He will take us back. It's because He has not broken the laws of the Shemaim, the same laws that He appointed at the beginning, and are the same laws that are today's in our days. Okay? The third witness, we have it in the book of Jeremiah as well. Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 35 and 36. And it reads the following: Thus said YaHuWaH, who gives the sun for a light by day, and the laws of the moon and the star for a light by night. We see a confirmation here of what we read in Bereshit. Who stirs up the sea and it waves roar. YaHuWaH of hosts is his name. If these laws, what laws? The laws that he's talking here, the laws of the sun, the laws of the moon and the stars. If these laws vanish from before me, declares YaHuWaH, is YaHuWaH declaring this, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. And we know that we have the promise that we are the seed of Israel through Yahushua. He is redeeming us, and He is going to redeem us very soon in these last days. So the seed of Israel is still the nation, the people of YaHuWaH forever. So that means, based on the declaration of YaHuWaH, that the laws of the luminaries has not vanished, are the same laws that He already appointed for them during the creation. And we have a fourth witness. This is in the book of Hanoch. This is Enoch, chapter 72, verse 1. And it says the following: The book of the courses of the lights of the Shemaim. This is talking about the revelation of the revolution of the luminaries, the relations of each according to their names and places of origin, and according to their mounts, which Uriel, the Kodesh messenger, who was with me, who is their guide, showed me. And he showed me all their laws exactly as they are. So Hanoch had the tremendous privilege to understand the laws that YaHuWaH appointed for the luminaries. This is everything that is about the book of Hanoch. He is sharing with us in that book the revelation of the revolution, the laws of the luminaries. Understanding those laws is going to help us to understand how the clock in the Shemaim works. But let's continue, because he says, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world and unto everlasting, till the new creation is accomplished, which endures until everlasting. So Hanoch is telling us here that he saw the laws exactly as they are, and how it is with regard of all the years of the world. So he's saying that the laws appointed for the luminaries, the laws that he received as a revelation, will continue during all the years of the world and to everlasting, until the new creation is accomplished. So we know that this new creation has not yet passed. It will pass after the 1,000 years reign, Malchut, the Malchut Hashemayim in the earth, the reign of Mashiach. So Hanoch is telling us that these laws are going to be exactly the same today. So why is this so important? I have been telling you in other videos that I made a transition this year from the lunar-based calendar to this amazing calendar of YaHuWaH. And since I started my studies around 6 to 8 months ago, I knew and understood that the sun, the sign of the sun, that is telling us when the year is going to start, is the equinox. Okay, the equinox that is happening during March, according to the Gregorian calendar. So I made my own sundials to track the equinox, and I was able to be an eyewitness that the equinox happened on the Tuesday, March 21st, meaning that the day after, on Wednesday, March 22nd, was the first day of the Shana, the first day of the year. You know, science was saying that the equinox was happening on the 20th, I think. I was able to see with my own eyes in the video that I will show with you now, that the revolution of the year, the revolution of the sun, the revolution of the luminaries, the year started on March 22nd because the equinox happened on the 21st. You know, and this is important to mention, YaHuWaH's calendar is not a solar calendar only, okay? a calendar is based on the clock of the shaman that as I told you before. And we will discuss more in details about the revolution of the sun, just to explain you about the equinox in another parts of this series. And also we will discuss about the revolution of the moon very soon. And I already shared with you in the part number 2 of this study about the revolution of the stars, also an important witness of how to calculate the start of the years. So let me share with you my witness about the equinox in this short video. Okay, so here at the end of the March 21st, as you can see, we don't have more shadow here on the sundial in this one or the other one. And what I did, I used the professional level that I have over here, that is a perfect ruler, and I draw a line here, joining the points that I was making this morning on solar noon and also on the evening. So we will check each one of the points, and you can see this one was the first one in the morning, and we have the other ones. So far we are very good. Then we get to the solar noon. We have this one, we have that one, we have that's the hand of my son, this one, this one, this one, this one is perfectly aligned. And we have this one, this one, this one, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, we have a perfect straight line for today. So today is the equinox. Today is the 4th intercalary day. So guys, thank you and see you later. Bye. Okay, so we see here that was my witness, and it's not only mine, because I also was able to get in contact with some people that also they witnessed the equinox happening on March 21st, and they were in the northern hemisphere. I'm in the southern one, so it's quite amazing that we see independently on the what place you are on this earth, we are able to see when the equinox is happening, when the sign of the greater light is giving us to understand when the years is beginning. And also, as I said to you, I also use the witness of the testimony of the moon and the stars to confirm when the year is starting. And I will share with you in the next videos, when we talk about the revolution of the moon, how I did this and how this is working. So the important thing here is to confirm that the year is starting always in a specific day, always in the 4th day of the YaHuWaH, in this case always in a Wednesday according to the Gregorian calendar. And based on this, we are able even to confirm what the Shabbat day is. So if you have not watched the video, the Shabbat day, I encourage you to go to the channel and check this day, because I talk in that video how to confirm using the calendar of YaHuWaH and the clock on the shaman when is the Shabbat day. And the Shabbat day is totally in harmony and aligned using this calendar of YaHuWaH, and it's a second or third witness maybe, that the year is always started in the 4th day of the YaHuWaH, what we call nowadays, according to the Gregorian calendar, the pagan Gregorian calendar, day of Wednesday. Okay. Last point on this part is regarding the sundial. If you don't know how the sundial works, I put also a video titled "How Sundials Work," so you can go there and you have more information how to use the sundial. So there is another part of the basic that is talking about how to measure time, but I will cover it in a part 1D. So we will keep this video until here. So again, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoy it, If you have any question, like always, send me the emails. I will do my best to answer your question. So keep following the channel, keep following the studies, and the most important thing, do your own research, use this as an input, study by yourself, because that's the only way that the Ruach will lead you directly in your heart about the truth of the word of YaHuWaH, about the truth that I'm sharing with you here. So thank you again, Shabbat Shalom, and see you in the next video.